Hey, welcome back. Have you heard of a relationship style called living apart together? It's a fairly new style of relationships that seems to be gaining a little bit more popularity, especially after the COVID pandemic. And it's basically couples who are in a relationship, but they don't want to cohabitate. So they really value their alone time. Some couples are choosing to live in separate homes as a strategy to preserve their relationships. This arrangement, often called living apart together, helps couples stay close while avoiding cohabitation challenges, reducing conflict, maintaining individuality, enhancing romance, avoiding financial stress, and respecting health or mental well being. So that's a lot of big promises. I mean, I could see how some of this might help. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder, so that might help a dead bedroom kind of situation. I could also see conflict being reduced. I mean, if you guys got two different ways of living, one person wants to set up their house this way, the other one wants it that way, and they don't have to fight about it. Also, different people have different standards of cleanliness. Maybe one person gets irritated that somebody leaves a dish out or something, and another person doesn't like just how someone else lives. So you can have your own dwelling space. I think an important part here is the maintaining individuality part. So that to me kind of tracks with how our more recent modern American culture just seems to be. There's a heavy emphasis on freedom and individuality and the pursuit of happiness and at least as now interpreted for your own happiness. So this sort of seems to be a fast forward to life after divorce. Except, you guys are still in a relationship and see each other every now and then. And who knows? Like maybe this is just what the new normal is going to be in 20 years or something like that. I'd hate to admit it. I mean, some of this sounds kind of appealing to me. I don't really care to live with somebody, and I'm not really a big fan of the whole traditional thing, especially when it comes to the financial division. So if one person wants to maintain their own thing and you maintain your own thing, then so be it. I do think this would work best if you don't sign the state marriage license contract, because if you want to maintain this level of individuality, why do the official marriage thing? That wouldn't make sense. I will say this lends itself to probably a lot easier, breakups. At the very least, a lot cleaner of breakups. But then again, so many people that are in traditional nuclear families end up splitting up anyways, and that can be pretty ugly. If you have kids, I guess there's going to be this level of the kids sort of growing up with this expectation of going back and forth between mom and dad's house anyways. And if you guys are on a decent enough relationship, it would be tough if you have like a newborn baby. That part would be really hard. Like I could see cohabitating probably being smart there, especially if you got, I don't know. I mean, if waking up in the middle of the night with a crying baby, seems like two parents are better than one there. So there's going to be challenges here. There's going to be challenges. The comment section here just does not seem to be happy with this. This person says the destruction of the nuclear family has been accomplished. We are evolving, just backwards. I worked with a woman who was in a relationship for 20 years. When they moved in together, it ended within 6 months. What in the Gen Z is going on here? Super happy these rich people are working through these difficult times. So in other words, avoid the skills you need to learn to repair and live together under one roof, with possible kids in this picture too. Nope, this is not it. The only time this truly works is if one partner needs the space for 3 to 6 months to get themselves together because they are impacting the entire family and the weight is too much to bear. Understandable, but there is a means to an end, and both partners understand the goal and action necessary. I've been saying this for years. So I originally saw this idea on Reddit. There's a subreddit called Living Apart Together, and it's been around since 2013. Let's take a look at that. This is the subreddit, Living Apart Together. It doesn't have that many people, but it has been around for over 10 years now. It has 6,200 members. Let's take a look at some threads. So this one says, my spouse and I have been living happily ever apart for 25 years. Hi, all. I wanted to share here that I run a group for what I called A Partners, partners who live apart on Facebook. We have members from all over the group who can attest to the fact that this can be a healthy and viable option for relationships. It's not for everyone, but it works for many, and it's important for people to know that options exist for healthy relationships. This one says reminders of why living apart together works best for you. Today I got a couch. I am slowly furnishing my new apartment since moving closer to my partner. I found the best couch today for a steal of a deal. It's everything I've ever wanted, and it gives my living room cozy bookshop vibes since I have bookshelves lining the walls. I can't even describe how excited I am about it. My partner came over today to drop off something and he hates it. He would never want it in his home, which is fair. It's staying in mine. He says it's comfy though. This was a reminder of why I love living apart together. I don't have to compromise or ask anyone's opinion. Having my own space made me able to just buy myself a couch I loved. Have you had any recent reminders of why LAT works best for you? As the time goes on, I think our culture values individual freedom more and more and more and more. And especially with feminism and equal, opportunity and rights for women in the workplace, it seems like this is the kind of natural end here. I mean, I don't know how you can sell a traditional family nowadays. It seems to be mostly in name only. And a lot of traditional families end up splitting up anyways. At least with this would be like a clean break. You guys got your own spaces. Some might say, well, there's not much keeping you guys together, but people on here kind of attest to being together for a lot longer than what some other relationships have. So many people got dead bedrooms and stuff like this. It's one of my favorite parts, my space, my taste. I am also pretty obsessive about cleanliness and organization. I picked up and cleaned up after everyone else for 30 years of marriage, and I don't want to anymore. This was a New York Times article, and it says the wife left, but they're still together. After a pandemic dip, the number of married couples living apart together has started to rise again, and women in search of their own space are driving the increase. So they're saying this is women led, which, I guess I can kind of see that, especially with women working more. Again, the only way this works for me is if, she's handling her own stuff. But if this is a thing where it's like you're married and then like your wife's like, "Well, I want a second space and I also don't want to work." That's just not going to make sense. Not going to read this whole article, but it features like three different couples and how they so this is an older couple and they split up and she said she needed her own apartment and they've been doing that for a while. This is a younger couple in New York City and the wife wanted to move out of the house of the husband and that's kind of what they've been doing. They're not super clear about the finances here. If he's like still paying for everything, that to me would be kind of ridiculous. Here's them right here. And this is the New York City couple. If you told me a year ago that I would completely transform my marriage, I would think you're crazy. We've been married for over 6 years, and I just thought this is how it's always going to be. There was nothing necessarily wrong. I loved our relationship. I thought we were happy. Living in our dream luxury apartment in Manhattan with an adorable Mini Cooper convertible. Running my own business, and he was making more than ever in his career. So it sounds like he's the real breadwinner here. Anybody can go downtown and file some business paperwork and say you're a business owner, but whatever. But we were so intertwined together. We would go grocery shopping together, eat every meal together, only hang out with friends together, live, breathe, and sleep together. Sounds like a traditional relationship. I thought that was love. I saw my parents doing everything together, from home to business to life, and everyone called them the ideal power couple. But what I learned was that it wasn't healthy to be so codependent. I knew it was a problem when I was never available for my friends because I would rather be with my husband. I wouldn't work out because I'd rather watch TV with Adnan. I would revolve my entire life around him and his schedule. And he hated it. He wanted us to have independence and thrive on our own and together. So we made a super difficult decision to live in two different apartments in New York City to learn independence and grow as humans, individually first and foremost, then come together and grow our connection together. I had no clue then that we would have a completely transformed marriage now. We both have so much independence to enjoy our own hobbies, boundaries for alone time, respect for each other to pursue our individual dreams, and so much more love, connection, and intimacy together because we finally get to see the most authentic and powerful version of each other. And damn, it's so sexy. I'm so damn glad we took the risk and came back together stronger than ever. So that's one person's assessment of this lifestyle. I don't know if they have children. If that's a thing for them. It's probably easier if you don't have kids. Sounds like they're legally married, which to me would be a no-go for this kind of setup. I mean, and at this point, even a traditional setup, that's kind of becoming a no-go. So, she mentions independence a few times. I'm assuming that means independently paying your own bills too, because that would seem really weird. If you're living apart and you're not paying for anything yourself. That would be kind of the big thing for me. It's a strange thing. I guess most people would probably wonder about trust and fidelity and things like that. It seems like the way our culture is going nowadays, or at least the opportunities we have here in the US, for instance, it just doesn't it's just very hard to get people to want to do the traditional thing. And, monogamy seems to be a challenge even for folks that would label themselves conservative. A lot of marriages separating there. So, with all the challenges we have with family law and these kinds of things, this might be a kind of norm. It seems like a lot of people are in situationships nowadays where they're not living together anyways. And I mean, hell, they don't even know if they're monogamous, frankly. Maybe one person thinks that, someone else doesn't. But this seems like a relatively low leveraged position as far as a relationship goes. I think what complicates this is when children sort of enter the fray. It seems like this works better for older folks who have adult children and maybe young folks who aren't really planning on having kids. I think maybe when you do have kids, especially when they're really young, then living apart probably seems kind of strange, at that point. But again, there's so many people who have kids and then they split up when the kids are young. I mean, really, there seems to be no magic bullet answer. This seems to be less risky, especially if your finances aren't merged together like, in a marriage. So it also kind of makes me think of marriage laws. Typically, when a divorce happens, especially in California, it's written in the code that there's kind of an expectation, especially like when it comes to alimony, that the lifestyle that's kind of provided from the supporting party, as it says, to the supported party, that's kind of the expected lifestyle that the judge takes into account when awarding these things, aside from the calculator. So if you guys are both not cohabitating and living in a different situation like that, then I guess the lifestyle you can expect is the one you've been living in on your own with. The other tough part about this, when it comes to children, aside from just taking care of the kids, is custody and things like that. I mean, ideally, if you guys are on good terms, then you can get that figured out. But if the kids are primarily with one person instead of another, then they're cohabitating with someone a lot more. And if you guys do still end up kind of breaking up, even though you're already kind of physically separated a lot of the times, that could be an issue. That could be an issue, depending on if they change their mind on custody and suddenly they hate each other and they want to, you know, try to get the kids from the other person if something terrible like that happens. Could this help dead bedrooms? Possibly. Possibly. I mean, maybe being apart helps you guys helps get some of that spark back. So, this is interesting. Let me know in the comments below if this is something you would consider. For me, it's all about the deal. If this is something they want me to pay for entirely because they want to be independent without being independent, it's going to be a no. If this is something where, you guys both are decent earners and can be responsible for yourselves, this might be what a lot of people end up doing because it seems people are having trouble blending and threading their lives together, anyways. This might work better for folks who are coming out of divorces and have kids from prior, marriages and things. And if you have a kid from a prior marriage and she has a kid from a prior marriage, maybe you guys choose to do this so, the kids don't have to be under one roof and change school districts and all these kinds of things. So there are practical considerations and, considering the way family law is, I mean, this could be one way to help mitigate some of the negative effects. Though, anytime you're in a relationship, you're leveraging yourself in some way, but I would consider this a lower leveraged position. So, I don't know. Interesting. Living apart together. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below, and we'll see you on the next one.